All right, hello. Welcome to the Hold My Helmet Football Podcast. I'm your host, Will Reichling.
And I'm your co-host, Dylan Boyle.
Welcome back, Dylan. Welcome back. How was your little concert last week?
It was fun. Not as fun as it would be here. Do you have a good time hosting your first episode by yourself? Not your first episode.
In a couple months, yeah. Well, you know, everyone needs a break. I feel like eventually I'm going to need one too. We're definitely going to take a nice break after the Super Bowl's over with all this. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So glad you enjoyed it. Let's get back to what people care about most on this damn podcast, and that's football. So let's get to it. Okay, Bills at Bengals. I'm too excited for him right now. He is not in the mood for this. No. Bills at Bengals. So you picked the Bills. I picked the Bengals. It was a tough one to pick. I'll give you that.
It was.
But I wouldn't say it was a repeat of the playoff game last year because the Bills got completely embarrassed. But I never felt like Buffalo was going to win this game. I felt like the Bengals had complete control, and Joe Burrow is back to vintage Joe Burrow.
Yeah, it's just the Bills. They just didn't look like they have it. And the Bengals, on the other hand, they've just been on a roller coaster up and up and up, and I can't see it going back down. They just been on a momentum ride, you know. This is a team I was really worried about too. We had a question a while ago. Were you worried about the Bengals? And I was, but after this week, I'm not worried about them at all. We're gonna be going into a top 10, and you'll see. I'm not worried about them at all.
Joe Burrow is at his best right now. It was a great job by the Bengals defense. They held this passing attack, and they were forcing turnovers. And is Gabe Davis alive? That's all I want to know. No catches, only 2 targets. They need to have a number 2 receiver. They're too reliant on Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
They're too reliant on them.
Absolutely. Gabe Davis is just... We even talked about it before. He's just that player that's like... You see him here, he disappears one week, and then he pops up at another.
Inconsistent. I remember our very first podcast we did together, our very first episode, we talked about this last season. He had a 150-yard game, then he had a 30-yard game. Yeah. A 90-yard game, then a 10-yard game. It's very typical of Gabe Davis to do this. Maybe it's not his fault. Maybe it's the play calling.
Is it him or is it Josh Allen?
I don't know if it's necessarily Josh Allen or as much as the play calling, or they might be just too reliant on force-feeding Diggs the ball. That didn't really seem like the case here. Josh Allen, he's starting to get older now. You can't rely on him to be running all the time, to be making wow plays. Eventually, you need to win by defense and, you know, having a consistent running game. That doesn't include Josh Allen. And their defense, they have a lot of injuries. You know, Tre'Davious White out for the season. Matt Milano out for the season. They did trade for the corner, Rasul Douglas from the Packers, but obviously it's not going to be enough. And
no, you can't rely on that defense too much. Like you used to have a high caliber offense where, you know, they would just be scoring nonstop, but they just haven't been showing it. I mean, Stephon Diggs is still a really good wide receiver, but who else you really got there, you know? We've been talking about this a lot, too.
They have 2 good tight ends. I like Kincaid and I like Knox. I'm pretty sure Knox was hurting.
Is out.
Yes.
He's out for a couple weeks now.
So
he's coming back soon.
Does this come down to coaching, Dylan, with the Bills? Because, like, Sean McDermott, you know, they were a mess when he got there. He corrected the culture. But now that you have it corrected, do you need another guy to come in to bring them over the top? Because it looks like they've hit their ceiling with Sean McDermott.
It just seems like they're too basic, you know? They got to, you know, show that wow factor. They got to do something, you know, that it's like, oh, haven't seen them do that in a while. Just... They're too basic. And
you want to know? I'm going to bring up something funny here. Do you remember during the offseason when they were hanging the Super Bowl banners or something like that? They were hanging
my God.
And not like the Super Bowl, that they were the Super Bowl champion, but it was like the Lombardi trophy. It was just very weird optics, and like it's looking like it's going to be another season for Buffalo where they're not going to be a Super Bowl team. I don't have them in my bubble anymore. I don't know about you, but they're not in my teams of Super Bowl legitimate contenders anymore. They're just not good enough talent-wise. They just don't X's and O's and talent-wise. They just don't match up with Cincinnati, with even Kansas City, because that defense the Kansas City's defense would stop Buffalo right now.
Well, listen, I wouldn't give up on them yet. I still have them within my top 10. Obviously, they're not looking good, but they're still a really good team. Ultimately, you know, Josh Allen's is still a top 10 quarterback. Stephon Diggs is still a top 10 receiver, and they still have pieces around them. They can make it work. They just gotta change something up. I don't know what that is particularly, but they got to do something to really, you know.
I'm not sure if it's play calling or getting more of your other weapons involved, but they definitely have to change something for sure.
And they're past the deadline, so it's not like they're
stuck with what they have, and exactly. It just might not. I think they could still make the playoffs, but I just don't think they have enough talent right now to win a Super Bowl. Josh Allen will probably have to carry this team pretty far. But let's move on now. Cowboys at Eagles, Dylan. To me, this was the game of the week, an NFC East showdown, and you know. we talked about this. I was going back and forth with some people in the comments. And look, exactly what I predicted was going to happen happened. Don't mean to like show off or anything, but I knew that it was going to be.
It happened exactly how
I knew it was going to be a close game, and I knew that in the big spot that Dallas was going to choke, which is what happened. They got inside the 10-yard line, and then they had every opportunity to win that game. So what happens? False start. Dak takes a sack when he shouldn't have. Delay of game. And then they throw it like 5 yards short of the end zone. So like, I'm not trying to hand Dallas here. But Dak played great. Dak had a great game. Dallas played great in this game. I think Dallas should have a lot of confidence moving forward after this game. They hung with the Eagles. They definitely showed that they can beat them. But once again, head coaching, Mike McCarthy. And Dallas just coming up short in the big moment. And they tend to do this all the time. So that's how I feel about Dallas. So I don't trust them.
No, I completely understand that. Dallas, they showed a lot during this game. They did. And they stuck in it for a while. I don't know. They were really hot in the beginning, but then it seems like they started to fizzle out.
Both teams were hot in the beginning, and then the third quarter was controlled by the Eagles, and the fourth quarter was controlled by the Cowboys. They outplayed the Eagles in the fourth quarter. They should have won this game. So I knew it was going to be a close game, and I knew Dallas could beat the Eagles, but I knew when, like, gun to your head, not to make it any graphic, but gun to your head, first instinct, who would you choose in this game?
Eagles.
Exactly. Yeah. So like that was really my thought process there. It's like I trust the Eagles more than I trust Dallas. And look, the Eagles didn't play perfect either. They were handing that game to Dallas. Yeah. And Dallas handed it right back to them. Yeah. So the reason they were inside the 10 was, I'm pretty sure, like either it was an offside or an encroachment or something, and there was a pass interference on that drive. Yeah. Pretty sure there was a roughing the passer. The Eagles were blowing that game, and Dallas just finds a way to blow it more than the Eagles. They're like, hold my beer, Eagles, hold my helmet. So anything you want to add to that? I mean,
no, not really. I mean, it was a divisional game. We knew it was going to be a close one.
There was a couple calls that didn't necessarily go Dallas's way either, but it is what it is.
I mean, listen, they're going to be playing each other again. They both got a good idea of what they're going to be playing like. So it's going to be another interesting game when they play again.
I think I'll take Dallas in that home game, really? Honestly. Yeah, because this was a good game. Look, Dallas should have a lot to like after this game. It's like, okay, we can beat the Eagles in the playoffs. If honestly, anyone but the Niners, I feel like the Dallas could beat in the NFC. I haven't seen them play the Lions yet.
So how fraud are they? Because you keep on calling.
I don't think they're fraud. No. Okay, no. I think Miami's a fraud, and I think Dallas is similar to Miami, is where they get into these tough games and they lose, but they're more legitimate than Miami. Look at their roster. I mean, like, I think Dallas has a chance to be a Super Bowl contender, but I feel like they always find a way to not take that next step, whether it's coaching, whether it's Dak, but Dak's been playing great. So I feel like this comes down to coaching. A few calls didn't go their way, and this happens, but like, I do think Dallas is a legitimate team. I don't think they're frauds. I just don't think that they're I think they're like right there on that Super Bowl bubble, but like they're right. They need to take that next step. I don't think they're frauds, but I think the Eagles are better. So
fair take.
So, okay, we'll move on. Dolphins at Chiefs. This is a team that is frauds. And I still think they're going to beat up on the bad teams. They're still going to be a playoff team, but they're definitely not a Super Bowl team. Okay?
I disagree with that.
I don't understand how. How do you get shut out in the first half when you have a receiver that's on pace for 2,000 receiving yards? Most are going to the day. I'm pretty sure led the league in total touchdowns. Tua was in the top 3 for MVP candidate. I get the Chiefs have a really good defense.
They're going up against a top 5 defense. How could you...
You can't go scoreless in the first half. And I get the Chiefs went scoreless in the second half, but there's a big difference. Big difference. The Chiefs have a legit problem at wide receiver. The Dolphins don't. The Chiefs have legit problems with weapons. The Dolphins don't. So what's the Dolphins' excuse? I get their O-line isn't great, but like they should be scoring more than 14 points in the game. They should not be getting shut out in a half if they're this historic offense that everyone says they are. So they are a little bit of frauds.
I don't agree with that.
Why?
Why? It came down
prove to me why. Because all that they proved today, every game, more and more, I feel like they're frauds. And I was very high on them in the summer, and you remember that. So,
I do.
So, prove to me why they're not frauds.
Listen, I can't tell you, oh, this is why, or this is why. They are a talented team. They have too many starts to call them frauds. And if you look at their record, they still, whatever, 5-3?
It's 5-3, 6-3, I'm pretty sure.
6-3?
6-3. And they're still winning the AFC East.
They're still winning the AFC. No, they haven't beat a quote-unquote good team. But
they did beat the Chargers week 1. That was a great game. I'll give them that, and I don't really necessarily consider the Chargers good. I do think Miami's a good team, but I just don't think that they're gonna hang with the Bengals, the Chiefs. They didn't hang with the Chiefs today.
Listen,
so
once you get that defense going a little more, they just got Xavier and Howard back. They just got Ramsey back.
I was impressed with the defense. The defense wasn't the problem. It was the offense.
Yeah, I know. But I've said this before. Obviously, when the Miami are against the wall, I don't think they can really come back and win a game. And obviously, yeah, you need that to be a Super Bowl contender, obviously. But if this defense just does a little more, they get a little more in tune, I think they can hold games and they can let their offense work.
Well, the problem to me is actually the offense, because if you look at the Eagles game, other than the pick six, they only scored 10 points. The Bills, they scored 20 points. When they play good, and that was before the Bills had all the injuries, I'm pretty sure. So it seems like when they play a legit defense, they falter. And when teams kind of know that they're like, when Miami's trailing and teams know that they're going to pass, it seems like those motions and that clever scheming that Mike McDaniel has, it seems like that it's all for not as clever when they're trailing and teams know that they have to pass. It seems like that it's not as smart, not as clever. It's kind of just like, it's all kind of like, I've heard people say this, like Miami kind of plays like the city of Miami, like all the cars and the fake watches, but really deep down they have a ton of credit debt. They have a ton of student loan debt. So Miami's kind of that team that's flashy, but there's no substance to it.
Well, I think they kind of they think that too, because I mean they picked up Chase Claypool, so
and I haven't really seen him do much. They really need him. The problem isn't wide receiver.
They must have think they needed him.
The problem isn't wide receiver though. The problem is like they have a great.
What is the problem?
The problem is like they have a great running game and they have a great passing game, but when they fall behind in these games, they don't have a great running game or a great passing game. It's like teams see it coming. It's like their clever play calling all of a sudden when they're trailing isn't so clever anymore. It's like when teams can just tee up and pass, rush the passer on them. First off, when Tua gets a little bit of pressure,
so are you blaming it on Tua or are you blaming it on the?
I'm blaming a little bit on the line, a little bit on Tua. Tyreek Hill had a big drop, but yeah,
Mike McDaniels is a great coach.
I like him a lot as a head coach. Great head coach, smart offensive head coach. But when Tua, okay, we gotta be honest. When Tua faces pressure, he's not a guy that moves out of the pocket and makes a play. He struggles when he faces pressure. He struggled against the Eagles facing pressure. He struggled against the Bills facing pressure, and he struggled here against Kansas City facing pressure. He's not good when that line isn't holding up for him. When he can't throw within 2-3 seconds, and he has to make something happen with his feet, he struggles. Like he's a good quarterback, but he's not one of these, Burrow, Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Allen. He's not one of those guys, so he's going to struggle when he trails, and that it showed here. Tua's a good quarterback, but he's not elite, and it showed.
Listen, I think they can make it all the way. I think everything needs to get going. I think the defense really needs to get on the same pace, and if they can make it, say, most Super Bowls are played in sunny weather, hot weather, and as long as they make it there, they're fine.
Well, how do you have to get there? You got to go through the cold weather, and you got to go through the AFC Championship game in Kansas City or Cincinnati where it's cold. So I don't want to hear that because they got to go through all the cold weather games to get there, and that's another thing. They
don't play well.
Don't look good in the cold.
They
have one. I will say, there was a game against Buffalo last year in the snow that they played well. I think they just need to. I think when Achane comes back, it'll help a lot too. The running back, the guy. So
they need everything going for them.
Tua needs everything going for him to be successful. Like if he didn't have Tyreek Hill and Waddle and all these players, he would be like he had a winning record before all these guys got here. Mm-hmm. But he was a little slightly above average. That's what he is. But his numbers are inflated having Tyreek Hill, having Jalen Waddle, having Mostert have one of the most touchdowns in the league, having Achane come out of nowhere. It boosts Tua a little bit. It would boost anyone, just like Purdy gets boosted sometimes by the Niners.
I mean, the only game they really got quote unquote blown out in is that Buffalo game.
And I don't really think that was like a blowout. It was. It
came like to the fourth quarter. It became a blowout.
Yeah, it was.
They just knew they weren't winning that game.
I was just more I was less impressed with the Eagles game than the Buffalo game because the Eagles game they didn't really score much. They had one good drive. That was it.
Same thing. They kept it in though. They kept it in with.
If anything, the defense played well in that game. So the defense needs to get. The defense has been playing better, but 14 points ain't gonna cut it. So we'll move on though. Yeah. Seahawks at Ravens, and I've been saying for weeks now, Lamar's on that MVP chase, and look. They are barreling good teams like the Lions, the Seahawks. I know the Browns are up and down, but they crushed the Browns. The only good team that really beat them was the Steelers. Mm-hmm. The Steelers beat them. Look, Lamar, how about Keaton Mitchell? This guy, this undrafted free agent, comes out of nowhere, gets 130 rushing yards. Ravens had 4 players rush for over 40 yards. The Seattle Seahawks didn't have 1 player rush for over 20 yards.
Yeah.
So that was the difference in the game right there.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about Geno? Because I don't know if you listened to my breakdown, but he's okay, but he's not the future. So what do you do?
I honestly, I'm on the same exact page as you. I think he could be a good quarterback at times, but he's just not. He's not a quarterback that you see in your future. Same exact take. He could win you games, but he can't win you playoff games.
Exactly.
And this is a team that has a lot of talent, a lot of young talent around you,
right?
And you just don't see Geno in that picture. I think. I don't know what they do in this situation because you don't ride it out. You have to
ride it out with Geno. He's better than Drew Lock, and you have a playoff team. So.
Exactly. So I don't know what they do. Geno just needs to step it up and see if he can make something work with this team.
Yeah. So.
But on the other hand, the Ravens. I wasn't in the beginning of the season. I wasn't too crazy about them. They didn't blow out any good teams. They haven't blown out any teams. But after a few weeks ago, I've been the narrative on the Ravens for me has been really changing. I'm riding the Ravens wave for you.
They just
MVP Lamar all the way.
They just it doesn't always look great, but what they do well, they do really well. They run the ball really well, and that's always their strength. And their defense is playing like a top 5 defense. So I said this in my breakdown Sunday. You have a top 5 defense, top 5 quarterback, top 5 rushing attack, top 5 to 10 head coach. He's won a Super Bowl. This might be Baltimore's year. Do you think Baltimore could win the Super Bowl? I think they could. Will they? I don't know.
Yeah, I think they could definitely make it there.
So it's going
to be an interesting one.
Going into the season, I had them barely missing the playoffs because the AFC was so tight, and I was wrong about that. Lamar
it's loosened up a lot.
Lamar has definitely entered the conference. I think I had him at 6 or 7 as far as my top 10. He's back in my top 5 for sure. I think he definitely jumped Herbert to me because he wins games. Lamar wins games, and Herbert doesn't. So So that's a little side topic for another day. But speaking of Chargers and Herbert, Chargers at Jets. Man, the Jets suck. Okay, and let me start with this first. Yeah. I want to just get into. A lot of Jets fans like to blame Hackett, like to blame the O-line, like to blame the coaching, like to blame the penalties, the drops, the passes. That's all true. But it all comes back to the quarterback. Everyone wants to blame the play calling, saying, "Oh, well, they're not giving Zach opportunities to thrive. Oh, they're not giving Zach this. They're too predictable. Just criticizing the play calling." Name a great quarterback with a bad OC. You can't because the quarterback makes the OC. Hackett was this genius when he was Rodgers' OC back in Green Bay, and the Jets were so quick to run Mike LaFleur out of town. And then Sean McVay, an offensive genius on the Rams, picks him up to be the OC right away. Usually your value is who's willing to go out and grab you. And he got grabbed right away. So what does that tell you? That tells you it was Zach Wilson. When you start blaming the OC, when you start blaming the line, when you start blaming the drops, all this nonsense, 99% of the time it's because you have a bad quarterback and you're making excuses. No offense, I heard a lot with the Giants and Daniel Jones for a while. Oh, it's the line, it's this and that. No, it's because he was holding on to the ball too long and not making the decision. Zach Wilson, 1 second, 2 second, 3 second. Go, run. After 3 seconds, get out of the pocket.
He just looks blinds when he's in the
He starts to drift a little bit in his mind in the pocket. It's like after 3 seconds, you should be out of the pocket. You know your line's not good. You need to have a clock in your head.
Yeah.
And I guess that sometimes the receivers aren't open. That's why you have to take off out of the pocket. I'm not saying get rid of the ball.
Step up in the pocket, move around.
Sometimes step up, sometimes go out through the side. It depends. You
just got to be aware.
Yeah, exactly. If the rushers are coming around the edge, step up. If they come up the middle, roll out. That's why Joe Burrow is so great. He doesn't always have the best arm, doesn't have the best mobility, but he has great pocket presence. He knows when to step up, when to step out, when to throw it here, when to throw it there. Zach Wilson doesn't have any of that. Zero. He's bad. I don't want to hear anyone blame it on anything else. He needs to be benched. Okay? They got Trevor Siemian for a reason. They're not going to start him. They're not even going to take him off the practice squad. He's still going to be off the active roster. Zach's going to start again this week, and I'm going to lose my mind again.
Rightfully so.
Rinse and repeat with the Jets.
Yeah.
Same thing as last year. You got a defense. You're wasting the Super Bowl defense. This defense can win you a Super Bowl. And all you need is a competent offense. I will say, they don't have enough wide receivers. Lazard's terrible. They have Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. And who else? So it's very predictable in that aspect. You need another receiver.
Like the Bills, They have...
The difference is the Bills have the quarterback. Yeah, the Jets don't have the quarterback. But the Bills can make the playoffs.
See what they can do with just one receiver.
Exactly, because they have the
good team.
because they have the quarterback to get it to the receiver. And I feel bad for Garrett Wilson. I feel bad for Breece Hall, and I feel bad for the whole defense because this is a great defense, and it's getting wasted. A lot of these players, Sauce, Jermaine Johnson, on rookie contracts. You're wasting these rookie contracts now, just completely wasting it. Joe Douglas continuing to ride Zach Wilson and be stubborn, and just because he drafted him second overall, get over yourself.
It's crazy. And now
get over yourself.
You're going into next week against the Raiders. Max Crosby is going to be all over you guys.
Well, here's the thing. I can see the Jets winning that game and everyone getting sucked right back in because the Jets have a tendency of just sucking you in, and just when you think that they might have a shot, ripping your heart out. This isn't the Browns or the Lions, but they're just bad. They always they do just enough to get you reeled in, and then they suck your heart out. That's what it's like being a Jets fan.
They're still in the run.
Exactly. Why can't you just end my misery already?
At least with the Giants, I could just sit back and have not much time until the draft.
At least the Giants have clarity. I feel like now they know that they might go for a quarterback. At least, what's the clarity with the Jets? Rodgers might come back. He might not. He's not coming back.
He literally said, "Oh my God, this is driving me crazy."
A few weeks.
No. He's like, yeah. Somebody asked him, he's like, "Oh, when are you coming back?" He said, "A few weeks." All I see on social media, he's coming back in a few weeks. He's coming back in a few weeks.
First off, let's talk about that. Him dropping back and throwing. He looked like he was not 100%.
Smart? Doctor's probably looking at him like, "Yo, what are you doing, bro? Sit down."
He doesn't even look 100% doing it. People are just dumb. He's going to hurt himself. This line is not good enough for him to come back.
He might want to come back, and he might be like, "Oh, I feel ready." You're not ready, bro. Speak for someone who has gone through it. I've torn my ACL 3 times, and clearly...
Now, this is an Achilles, but it's very similar recovery. It's a long recovery.
It is. Yeah, if you don't give it the time, then you're just going to hurt yourself again.
And he's not going to...
age is...
Him before the injury, those first 4 plays, he looked like he could not move out of the pocket. He's old. Now he's going to be injured. He's going to get hurt. He's going to get sacked. He can't move. I get people saying, "Oh, you just need his arm." You need someone that can move, too, because this line's not that good. Let's be honest. Billy Turner, Billy Turnstile, that's what they keep saying. This right guard that, is a backup, played right guard yesterday. Well, it was yesterday. Well, we film on Tuesday, so yesterday. And he was terrible. I get it. I get the line was terrible, but it all starts with the quarterback. And the quarterback stinks. I was not impressed at all by the Chargers. I mean, were you impressed by them?
Oh, my God, no. This was a snooze fest. If this wasn't a Jets game, I probably would have been asleep.
That defense, man,
Yeah, this is a wake-up call from the Chargers. What the hell are you doing, man? What are you doing on offense?
Herbert struggled, but he made plays. He made the few plays he had to.
He had under 150 passing yards. That's pathetic.
Sometimes that's all it is, though. Make a play or two here and there, and they get the win.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Keenan Allen, kudos to him.
What a catch.
10,000. Yeah.
And 10,000 career receiving yards.
10,000 receiving yards. But on a game like this, it's just... What the hell?
Herbert's always been the guy that has the stats but not the wins. So I'd rather him get a win over stats here. So he got the win. Good for Justin Herbert. They're right in the playoff race. They have more hope than the Jets, And
this is one team I even in the playoffs, I don't see them doing anything.
I don't trust them. I don't trust them at all. I wouldn't say they're frauds. I just don't think they're that good to begin with.
No, if there's one team I'm gonna call frauds, it's the Chargers.
Worst pass defense in the league coming into that game, and the Jets get 6 points. So.
That's what I'm saying. 32nd against the pass,
and then the Jets get 6. So
how
the
many passing yards does Zach Wilson have?
He had a decent amount. I think he had 2. Did he get in the 200s? In the 2. That's it
doesn't feel. It didn't feel like it.
You know what's funny? How bad did Zach Wilson play?
Terrible.
And that was statistically that was one of his better games. That's how bad Zach Wilson is. That's how bad he is. That we set the bar so low that people are like, "Oh yeah, Zach Wilson played pretty good. Look at his numbers." You're in the denial, dude. Look at Stroud.
You gotta watch.
Get into the next game. Look at C.J. Stroud and this Houston Texans. 470 yards, 5 touchdown passes. That's a rookie record for passing yards in the game. That's what I want. That's what I expected from Zach.
That.
Exactly.
You're not getting.
And what a game that was. Back and forth. Noah Brown had a big day.
Dude,
Tank Dell had a touchdown catch.
Off. So I was texting him. I'm like, this guy's special. He is special.
Schultz had a good game.
Yeah. Oh my God! He's the first quarterback this season to score 5 touchdowns
in a game. Yeah, and he's a rookie.
Phenomenal, man.
And the Bucs played well in this game too. Baker went down the field and had a huge touchdown drive when he had to.
But then they answered right back in 47 seconds.
So I think the Texans are 4-4. Can they be a playoff team in this tough AFC? I don't know because it's very tough. You got the whole AFC North in there. It's very muddy.
He's single-handedly putting the team on his back.
Exactly.
And saying, let's go.
They have some spicy weapons, but nothing elite. And he's just taken this team that's basically a rebuilding roster and has carry them to 4 wins, basically.
Absolutely.
And yes, I like Nico Collins. I like Tank Dell. But these are all B plus guys, and he's taking them and putting them on his back right now.
Single-handedly, yes. This is just an impressive run by C.J. Stroud.
It really is, and you kind of could tell. You see with the eye test, his release on the ball just comes out perfectly, and he's so accurate, and he moves better than I think we all thought.
And he knows how to evade the pressure. He knows when it's coming.
Something that Zach Wilson and Daniel Jones he steps up. He's shifty And then he keeps his eyes down the field, and he makes a throw out of the pocket. That's all I'm looking for in my quarterback, but it seems like we can't have it. So
then you look at Bryce Young, and you're like, damn, maybe the Panthers should have grabbed him.
Yeah, but hindsight's always 20/20.
No, of course.
And it's funny, Stroud was supposed to be the guy in the draft that was going to be a bust, because he did really bad in that Wonderlic test, the instinct test, where it's you have to make decisions on certain circumstances.
Yeah.
And he did really bad on that, but he makes great quick decisions. So I don't know what they should throw out that test, because
they do.
C.J. Stroud is a top 15 quarterback already, and he could be top 10 right now.
Well, keep it in, spice it up, because I love seeing this type of stuff.
Exactly. Vikings at Falcons, and man, Josh Dobbs got here.
Josh Dobbs
just got there.
Man.
That
5 days.
That
That
damn engineer probably pulled an all-nighter studying that playbook. I don't know if you saw Dylan, but on the sideline he was showing them his cadence and how his rhythm of the snap.
So you don't have a full start.
And they all were listening to how he says his cadence. That's funny, because you learn that in install in the off season and stuff, and you're in the middle of a regular season game with the game on the line, learning this guy's cadence. Oh my god,
that was an interesting game.
Started off rocky, couple fumbles, but comes 3 total touchdowns, nice touchdown pass, great touchdown run.
Yeah, and this is so he came in the game trailing. I think he was down by 7.
Yeah.
So this is a game you're not coming in. It's hey, finish off the fourth quarter. You just got to throw the ball down the field a few times. He had to single-handedly come back to this game, and he did.
Yeah.
And he looked great. He is another quarterback that was moving around the pocket. He was looking very mobile. Josh Dobbs, he's somebody that you want on your roster. I don't even know if I would consider him a backup at this point.
I think he's a top 32 quarterback in the league. So which would put him in starter territory. But he's probably the best backup in the league if he is a backup. And he's the ultimate spot starter. He doesn't need a playbook. He doesn't need to know anyone. You could just pull him. He did it on the Titans last year. He did it in the beginning of the season on the Cardinals. They just signed him, and they just traded for him. Started playing right away. He did it a couple of years ago on the Steelers. He's the ultimate spot starter. Doesn't need a playbook. Just put him out there to make a few plays he could do.
So this brings up a few good questions I have. What are you doing with Kirk Cousins at this point? Do you stick with Dobbs and you're okay, this guy's young? So
I don't know, but it makes for fascinating stories, which is good for us.
Up to the end of his contract.
This is it.
This is it, right? So, Kirk, he showed a lot too, but obviously he hasn't done anything in Minnesota. Maybe he just needs a new surroundings.
It's funny though, because Kirk was having a great season. He was on pace for almost 40 touchdown passes. He was having a career year.
Perfect. That's a perfect trading point at that point.
So, is there a scenario where you keep both of them, like Dobbs to back up to Kirk Cousins?
He has too much value.
Yeah, I feel like Dobbs is going to end up a starter.
Both of them have great value.
If Dobbs keeps this up, he'll end up a starter somewhere next year.
What if he brings his team to the Super Bowl, man? I mean, obviously that's a leap.
Yeah, because you got to feel, because there's I know the NFC is wide open, so I could definitely see them making the playoffs. But there's too many good teams at the top. Are they going to beat the Eagles? Are they going to beat Dallas?
What if Justin Jefferson comes back? Jordan Addison.
I can't wait to see that.
A game.
Josh Dobbs with some talent. I'm curious to see if this guy can actually become a top 15 guy.
He was on Arizona, making them look like a good team.
Yes, and
and then we saw this backup on Arizona completely
terrible. I couldn't even watch that game.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
unwatchable. So
I don't know.
That is a good point. He actually made the Cardinals look competent, even though they weren't winning a lot. But now he's getting some wins. So hopefully they could keep this up.
This is an interesting team to watch now.
One of the most interesting teams to watch because they're 5-4. And then they start 0-3 or 0-4. I don't know, but they've won 3 or 4 straight now, and they've immediately brought themselves back into the playoff conversation. So good job, Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah. Interesting
And
team.
it's funny because we didn't talk about the Falcons much there, but they find ways to lose games like this.
Oh, yeah, Falcons. I forgot. Yeah, they're throwing this
They were
guy,
decent, but
Heineke.
And he was decent, but again,
I wasn't here last week to talk about it, but I think they were too quick to get rid of Ritter, honestly. I know he's been up and down, but they just pulled the trigger too quick.
To me, the problem with Ritter, it seems like he can move the ball, but he always makes a silly interception or a silly throw where he throws it up. I just don't think he's any good.
So you think Taylor Heineke is better?
I think Taylor Heineke is better. How much better? I don't know if the gap's that big. It seems like he can move the ball too, but they were missing Drake London, I'm pretty sure, in this game. So it was tough, but they could have easily won that game with Josh Dobbs pull off some magic in the end. So it comes down to that. All right, so now we're going to get into our top 10 teams very soon because we're halfway through the season, but we're going to breeze through the rest of these games pretty quickly, so let's get to it. This one may be a little longer than others, but Titans at Steelers, and man, Will Levis made a lot of throws I liked in this game. There was one where he got hit, and as he got hit, he threw one to the sideline, just floated it right perfectly into the receiver. He has like a big-time presence in the pocket, and he's got a big-time arm, so he shows a lot of moxie there. And I know they only scored, 16 points, but the Titans are showing me promise. And the Steelers, I'm still not confident on them, man. They had so many times, I'm pretty sure in the red zone, to score a touchdown, they kept coming away with field goals. And, George Pickens was pissed. You saw what happens with George Pickens.
Yeah.
With the whole
he
unfollowing.
Everyone.
So it's such childish, man. It's just come on. You had 100 yards a couple weeks ago. It's not like hasn't been getting the ball at all. And they're winning. So,
the offense is definitely divided. I mean,
it is, because they probably don't believe in Kenny Pickett. They probably don't believe in Matt Canada, their offensive coordinator. And they're both big problems. Kenny Pickett's not good. That stat I was showing you before this. C.J. Stroud has the same amount of touchdown passes in his career as Kenny Pickett, but he's played way less games. It's just he hasn't been productive. Kenny Pickett, he hasn't been producing enough. Yes, he makes a big throw in here and there, but they're not scoring enough points on a consistent basis. Remember that stat I showed you, how many. They haven't had a 400-yard game in 3 seasons, but every other team's had at least 3 or 4. It's crazy. This offense has been inept for so long now.
You want to hear something funny?
What?
AB was watching this game, and apparently he tweeted out, he's like, yeah, you got to get rid of that offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, and, I get me in there. He was talking about being the offensive coordinator. I'm like, yo, this guy has really lost his mind.
That guy's not even the offensive coordinator of his own life. He doesn't even call the plays of his own life. The CTE does. Okay, Antonio, do this. All right. Anyway, so that was a close game, though.
Close game.
And the Steelers are 5-3 now, and they have a legit shot to make the playoffs, even though their offense is inept. Now, they do have 2 great receivers, and Deontay Johnson came back and has been playing very well.
I mean, I keep on saying, their defense single-handedly always are winning them these games.
Yeah, Jalen Warren's actually come on as a running back, and Nazi's been playing better. So they do have the pieces on offense. It's just the quarterback.
They're just such a slow-developing team.
I know, and it takes them forever to get going in games, and they settle for a lot of field goals. But the Titans, Will Levis keep playing like this. Even if they don't make the playoffs this year, they have a lot to look forward to moving forward. Yes. They have a quarterback now, I think.
I mean, at this point...
why didn't you trade Tannehill? Why didn't you trade him and get some value? I guess no team was interested because he's always hurt.
Yeah.
I think he's also still injured, but I think you can still trade for someone when he's injured. I'm not sure on that one.
He's probably going to be a backup now.
Yes,
I'm going to be straight up.
Very good backup, though. I would take him. Yeah, I think he can still move a little bit, but
I don't think anybody, unless something tragic happens to a starting quarterback, then we'll be
exactly.
Get him over here.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's going to be next season.
So Bears at Saints, and Tyson Bagent played very well in this game. He ran around. He kind of looked effective. Looked like I don't want to bring him. He looked like a white Justin Fields, honestly, out there moving around, making plays.
And that's exactly what you want. You want an identical quarterback
as
that
your
can
backup
fill the role
for the system. Exactly right.
As long as Justin Fields can come back and start playing, at a good level.
Yeah, I mean he's better.
He went off.
He's better than really Tyson Bagent. Let's be honest. He's more talented.
Yeah, of course.
I think the more important story is the Saints' offense is starting to get right here at the right time.
Yes,
and it took
them a while.
They're probably going to win the division if they're going to keep playing like this. The offense is clicking. They have a top 10 defense. They're going to win the division.
Absolutely. They're running the division right now. They're leading.
Even though they lost to Tampa a few weeks ago, now that I think they're a few games ahead of them now. I think the Saints got that in the bag.
I think the Saints got it
barring a disaster or anything, injury.
I mean, listen, we were really low on the Saints to begin with.
Yeah,
Derek Carr didn't look good, but he just needed time to develop with the
chemistry,
offense.
right?
You could just tell he wasn't on the same page with his receivers. He wasn't on the same page with the offense coordinator, and things were just running really slow. But you could just see it's slowly getting better and better.
It is, and they're a playoff team for sure.
Yeah.
So Commanders at Patriots, and this was kind of back and forth. But again,
two middle par teams, not that good.
Exactly. Like Sam Howell again played well, but the Patriots are losing. They're 2-7. They're 2-7. Is there a scenario where Belichick leaves? And is there a scenario where he would go to another team? And what team would it be?
So I was watching this video of these guys talking, and they were talking about, what if it was before the week with the Giants losing? It's like, what if by some scenario we the Giants lose out, they get Caleb Williams, and then Belichick comes in.
I heard that.
That doesn't sound that bad. That sounds pretty damn good to me.
See, I just don't think Dable's out that quick. Dable won Coach of the Year last year.
But it's the same thing. I heard Dable was put in an application to play for the Chargers. For
the coach of Chargers, yeah. But I think I heard that too.
That'd be a lot of moving pieces, obviously.
Yeah, I think the Chargers didn't want to pay him. There was something going on there. Oh no, that was Sean Payton. Never mind. But I don't too many moving pieces for that to happen. Pieces. But that makes sense. Belichick was the defensive coordinator for those Super Bowl teams with Lawrence Taylor.
With the Giants.
Yes. Yeah, I mean,
jumping off track, but still.
Well, we're talking about Patriots, and they're just bad. They're one of the worst teams.
Yeah,
in the
I don't
league.
know what the Patriots are doing.
They should draft a quarterback. That's for sure. I mean, they're going to finish at the top of the draft. What happens to Mac Jones after that? I don't know. I guess he becomes a backup. He's a solid backup.
Honestly,
someone gives him one more shot, maybe.
Somebody's going to give him one more shot.
Maybe. We'll see. Like I have had many talks about Sam Howell, and he played well in this game. The Commanders are they're average though. They're not going anywhere this season.
I think they still need more time to develop.
I agree.
Get some more pieces there.
Yeah, I think
they just got rid of Chase Young.
They need some.
Maybe is this them saying like, okay, we're done for the
rebuilding?
Season?
Yeah, they need offensive line help, and they need a secondary. The Commanders. So hopefully they address that in the free agency and the offseason. So Rams at Packers. Look, I'm just gonna say this was an ugly game. I mean, the Packers won by the process of elimination. I'm not impressed with them at all. So I think the most important topic here is the Rams just signed Carson Wentz, and can Carson Wentz hold them over for a few games to get them back to 500? So if Stafford comes back, when Stafford comes back, and hopefully they say after the bye week that he could lead them to the playoffs after that. Can Carson Wentz hold the ship down?
I think he absolutely can, and I think that's particularly the only reason why they brought in Carson Wentz, because they saw that their backup that they currently have can't do the job.
Kind of like the Baker situation last year, where it's like, hey, we need a guy, and they bring in Baker, and now they bring in Carson Wentz. They need a guy.
I mean, Baker's situation worked out a little better than theirs.
Yeah, so
I think it's going to work out a little better than theirs. I know. Wait, where was Carson Wentz was on the Commanders
last season? Right? He got benched,
and then he got benched. I don't know. This might be a little revive for him.
Maybe he got humbled a little bit. I heard he's not a great locker room guy. We'll see though.
So maybe this will kind of be like a bounce back from him, because he wasn't on a team at all, and he wasn't in the NFL at all.
No one wanted him, so
maybe he could be a backup somewhere if he proves himself. I mean, he's going into a team that has targets around them, has players around them. So if he shows like himself and he can show that he can actually play on an NFL team, maybe he could either stay a backup or go be a backup somewhere else.
Interesting. Right. Let's move on. Cardinals at Browns, and we're not going to get too much into this one. The Cardinals had their backup quarterback. The Browns defense smothered them.
I do want to talk about one thing. Kyler Murray's coming back. And question mark, is Kyler Murray coming back?
Actually, we have to talk about that. Jonathan Gannon said he's going to start this week if everything goes well at practice.
He's
going to play.
He's going to play. I don't believe it.
He's going to play. That's why they traded Josh Dobbs. I think they wanted to get some value for him, because it's not like he was the quarterback of the future. 2, they knew Kyler Murray was coming back. And if Kyler Murray wins the games here, you stick with Kyler Murray.
Okay, so this is what's going to happen.
Kyler Murray's a top 10 talent.
So I was really confused. I didn't know why. Since the beginning of the season, they're like, 4 weeks and he'll come back. We're going into week 10. And there's still question marks if he's coming back or not. They're saying he's going to come back. I feel like they're going to hold off another week, maybe hold off 2 more weeks, and maybe have him play a couple games, show that he's still a competent quarterback, that he could still play at a very high level, and then trade him.
Interesting. I could see that happening, but I think...
And then they'll still be at a point where they can draft a quarterback.
Well, I mean, his contract's tricky because it's a lot of money, and he's been hurt and not a great locker room guy, but he's got the top 10 talent, so there's definitely going to be teams interested. It becomes whether you want to keep him or move on, and I think that depends where you pick in the draft. So if you win some games here, I think you stick with him. If you keep losing out even with him, I think you go for Caleb Williams or Drake May. So... I think, look, we talked about this many weeks. I think he's got talent. You're not crazy about him. We've gone back and forth on this.
I mean, no, he's been talented before, but he's just...
I also think that it might have run its course in Arizona too. We'll see though with his new coaching staff. We'll see if he comes back this week, plays well. That one's a hard one for me. That game. I think they're playing Atlanta.
Yeah.
Atlanta finds ways to lose. So can Kyler Murray come back and sneak a win out here?
Well, listen, I was saying this in the group chat. The new Call of Duty comes out this Friday. So if he plays this Sunday, he is not going to play well.
Has he done his homework, though? Has he done his film study? We don't know.
I mean, he's had a lot of time. Has he been either playing the Xbox or been hitting the notes?
So, Colts at Panthers. So, I don't want to get... The Colts kind of controlled this game. Don't want to get crazy about this one. Bryce Young struggled.
We saw it with Trevor Lawrence.
Disaster rookie season, right. And so we'll let this play out.
Of course. Like I said, Panthers don't really have any weapons, so I don't blame him. We were saying the same thing about the Jaguars, but then they just completely turn things around. So maybe same situation happens here.
Maybe. I do like their head coach, and I did like Bryce Young coming out of college. I like Adam Thielen's a nice piece, but other than that, they don't have much. So their offensive line isn't great. Their defense is okay. So they don't have much to work with. Hopefully, moving forward, they can build on something in the last half of the season.
Yeah, they won one game, so they're going to have some good draft capital.
Exactly. They might even be very high in the draft. Well, actually, the crazy thing about that is that they traded their first round pick to Chicago. They moved up to get Bryce Young.
Look at that.
Now they're a little screwed. And they traded their best receiver. So they kind of screwed themselves a little bit. But anyways, moving on. Giants at Raiders. Antonio Pierce, the former Giant linebacker on those Super Bowl teams, gets his first career win as head coach. And did you hear the divide between Pierce and McDaniels leading up to that? McDaniels getting fired. Apparently, the guys basically had a straight up meeting where they told McDaniels they didn't like him. And then Antonio Pierce stood up and address the team and motivate them. Basically said something about the Super Bowl where he beat McDaniels' Patriots, but not
the undefeated Patriots.
Yes, and basically not taking shots at Patriots, just trying to motivate them on anything could happen if you put your mind to it or whatever. Basically saying you have to have the mindset to go out there and think you can beat any team. And then McDaniels said, "Oh, don't talk about the Patriots like that." It's just come on, you're just so petty. You're little Patriots. You're little precious Patriots. It doesn't work anymore. It's 2023. You're not gonna just get a bunch. Tom Brady's the reason it worked. So let's end it now. Look at Belichick's record without Brady. It's not good. So.
I mean, that's why he got fired a few days
and
later.
Look at every other coach that tried. Look at every other Belichick disciple that tried to become a head coach. Matt Patricia, disaster. I could keep going. Bill O'Brien. I mean, he was a good head coach. He was an okay head coach. GM, disaster. I get to keep Joe Judge, disaster. You're not gonna win when you have Tommy DeVito in there. So,
dude, so we're at the point where I was saying it before. I'm counting the days till draft. So let's get a new quarterback in. We're gonna have to.
So you're done with Daniel Jones? Yeah, are we gonna have this talk?
No, we're not having this talk.
So with bad quarterbacks. He's not bad. He's not completely bad. I just mean with quarterbacks that you realize aren't the guy. Everyone eventually comes to that conclusion, but they come at different times. So you're finally here. Welcome aboard. You finally realize your quarterback isn't the guy. It's okay, though. He's not. It's okay. He
might be a guy somewhere else, but not on my team.
Look, this is good because now you realize you need to get one of these special guys. So this might help you guys moving forward.
So at this point, it's unfortunate. We're going to have to say goodbye to all our key players. We're going to have to say goodbye to Saquon Barkley. I know we're not going to be able to keep him. There's no point. You're not going to waste his career on the Giants.
And if you're going to rebuild,
pay him. There's no point.
And it seems like you're going to go in the rebuilding direction. If you're going to go in the rebuilding direction, why pay an older running back that's by the time you guys are really good, he's going to be too old at that point. So it's
and we can get some more draft capital with
exactly. You need another tackle. You need a quarterback. You need some. Definitely need some. Your defense is actually looking pretty decent right now. So
that's the one thing I am impressed about.
We've been
holding defenses, offenses to very minimum points.
Other than this last week, they gave up. They gave up. You had a third string quarterback.
Yes,
the defense just gave up. It happens.
And it's a very young defense, so we have something
I like
going.
I like your corner banks. Very good. Okereke, you signed him. He's been a big signing. He's been everything you wanted. Dexter Lawrence is one of the best players in the league. Thibodeau's having a great season. Great season. You have some players on that defense. It's the offense that's terrible.
Yes.
It's Saquon Barkley and Saquon Barkley and a bunch of guys.
A worse Jets.
The worst version of the Jets.
Worst version of
I don't know. I guess DeVito's worse than Zach. I was about to ask that question. I don't know.
No, that's DeVito's way worse. I don't even want to talk about it.
Okay, so last week Dylan wasn't here. So last week Dylan went 9-7 and I went 13-3. This week Dylan went 9-5 and I went 11-3. So I've had 2 great weeks in a row. I'm pretty sure before these 2 weeks I was like 6 or 7 games behind Dylan. Now after 9 weeks, so there's 18 weeks, so we're halfway through the season. Halfway through the season, we are tied 81-55. Somehow me and Dylan are exactly tied right now.
Crazy.
With the second half of the season almost underway.
What a way to hit.
We're basically at 0-0.
Let's go.
We're basically at a clean slate right now. So
that's crazy, man.
And you were a little ahead of me. I was getting a little worried at some point, but we've both been, dude. We're both, what are we? Almost 30 games over 500. We've both been pretty good.
Impressive.
Good
job, man.
Yeah, so good job. All right, so now we hit the middle mark. So now let's bring up our top 10 power rankings for halfway through the season. We're past week 9. Now we're starting to see how teams really are, Dylan. So now we have.
I needed this week though. This week is the mark that I really needed.
I think last week and this week were the telling weeks. Yes. We're getting to the thick of things where teams are getting exposed and the real teams are coming out. So I will give my top 3 first. Number 1, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. Look, they've struggled, but they've won very important close games. I still think they're one of the most talented rosters in the league. A.J. Brown's been on a tear. I love their quarterback, works hard. Look, he hasn't had a great statistical season, but he's playing hurt. He's tough as hell. That defensive line is really good still. Jalen Carr is having a great year. Look, I just think this is the team to beat still. Until I see them start to falter, where they start losing these close games, Eagles are the best team in the league to me. Number 2, the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar's on an MVP chase. Zay Flowers has looked good. Their running games look great. Like I said the last game, 4 players are over 40 rushing yards, at least 40 rushing yards or more. Top 5 defense, top 5 to 10 head coach. Lamar's on a tear. Ravens are unstoppable right now. Every good team they've played, they've beaten, other than the Steelers. That was a weird game. But they crushed the Lions, crushed the Seahawks. Ravens are legit, number 2. Number 3, the Kansas City Chiefs. I know some people might be crazy about that, but Mahomes is still there. Travis Kelce's still there. Chris Jones is still there. This is the best defense Mahomes has ever had. They still have the best coach in the game, Andy Reid. Until I don't see him in the AFC Championship game, I have them in the AFC Championship game. So Chiefs number 3. Top 3, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs. What are your top 3?
Mine's a little similar to that. So at number 1, I have the Baltimore Ravens. So it's kind of crazy. I would have never thought they would be at my number 1 team. But these last 3 weeks, they've just been really impressive, blowing out teams left and right. Lamar Jackson is just having himself a year. At first, he started a little sluggish, but he's overall just, he's just a more developed quarterback. And the whole team in general, they have a pretty solid defense. Their run game is good. You got a crazy amount of options on your wide receiver core. So they've been a lot better this last few weeks and made their way to my number 1. My number 2 is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, wow. You've jumped high on them quick. I'm high on them too, but not this high.
Yes, I did.
Explain yourself.
I will explain myself. Listen, Cincinnati started off really slow, and it's crazy because we were talking about it before. We didn't even know if they were going to make the playoffs. But just ever since that losing streak, they've just been on a momentum straight up. Every other week, they look better and better. And Joe Burrow is back to old Joe Burrow. He's running around the pocket. He's not worried about that calf injury anymore. And everything's just clicking for them. So I think they're going to keep with it. And they're just going to keep on clicking and getting better and better. So my top 3 team is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. That Jets loss really blew my mind. But besides that, the Philadelphia Eagles have been amazing. To have a team that everyone has a play that they're just trying to mock they can't do is pretty crazy. I mean, it's pretty historical what they're doing. Tush push, it's insane.
And now that they invented the fake to the tush push, you see the little end around?
Yes.
Only them.
But how could you not see that coming? They were 3 yards out.
I think someone brought up, eventually that's going to happen, and the next week it happens. It's
funny. But yeah, A.J. Brown is having himself a year.
Career season.
6 games going over 100 receiving yards. It finally ended.
It ended. But he had a touchdown touchdown, right?
Yeah. No, he still a phenomenal player. Yeah. So anyways, so my top 3 are the Ravens, Bengals, and Eagles.
So you have Ravens, Bengals, Eagles. I have Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs. Okay. So you have the Bengals in. I have the Bengals at 4. I just need to see a couple more games from the Bengals. Joe Burrow looks healthy, moving out of the pocket, has the pocket presence, the awareness. Now more people are starting to get involved. T. Higgins is starting to get going. Mixon is starting to get going. The defense is underrated again, but yet good and effective. Held the Bills. Got forced turnovers. They just Joe Cool, man. When he gets in these big spots and important games, it seems like he gets better. And the Bengals are definitely viable for another AFC Championship game. They start off slow, but they always start off slow. Eventually, it's going to bite them in the rear end, but it didn't this season. They're 5-3, and they have a clear shot at winning their division yet again. So I have the Bengals at 4, and number 5. Look, I have the San Francisco 49ers. I'm not ready to sell my stock on them yet. Yes, they've lost 3 straight, but it's been wacky games. Brock Purdy's played well, but turned the ball over late in games, kind of made some silly throws. I think if he could hold on to the ball better and make better decisions, the Niners will get right back to where they left off. I think Debo's coming back soon. That's going to be huge for them. I still think their defense is good. They're still a really, really, really good team. They're still going to win the division. I know Seattle was above them going into the week, but the Niners are still legitimate. Like, Brock Purdy is still top. He's still in that top 20, 15 category. He can make plays. He's been struggling, but hopefully he can learn from this. They had a bye week, so they play the Jags now. It's going to be tough, but I think the Niners bounce back, and I think the Niners are still a legitimate team.
Interesting. So, like he was saying, so I have the Chiefs at number 4. For some reason, I want to put them lower than 4.
Me too. I did too. You can't.
You can't. They're coming off of a Super Bowl win. I kept on thinking they would have a Super Bowl hangover, but they're not. They just keep in games where they just win. And that's what worries me about this team a little bit. They never blow a team out. They don't really have all the pieces that you want for a team to be amazing. You have 3 phenomenal players, including Chris Jones. It's just I need to see more depth in the wide receiver core. I need to see people start stepping up. Rashee Rice, he is starting to come up, but
that's really it, though. And he's not really number 1 yet.
No,
so I agree.
Absolutely not. So, but they're getting it done. They're somehow getting it done, and that's why they're in my top 4. But that's just a team that worries me a little bit. They didn't need to do a little more. They need to blow some teams out, have wide receivers step up. But overall, they're a good team, top 4. Then my number 5 is also the 49ers as well. And I think it's too quick to say they're not a really talented team. Obviously, they're a really talented team, but Brock Purdy just is starting to fall back a little bit. I mean, we were saying he was like an MVP candidate, but I wouldn't shoot that shot yet. I think we still need to see more. He had a couple bad weeks, but I think that's every quarterback has that. Slow start. He was missing his key target, Debo, and that's no excuse though. So I think we're just seeing a little bit of regression from him, but I still think he's a very good quarterback, and I think we're still going to see a lot of talent come out of him. So that's why that's why they're at my number 5, and I think they're still going to possibly be in the NFC Championship too.
So we had the same teams in our top 5, just different order. So no specific order. We both had Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals, Niners. I had Eagles. Like I said, I had Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals, Niners. You had Ravens, Bengals, Eagles, Chiefs, Niners. So same top 5. Because like we said, as you get further into the season, you kind of are now it's getting more predictable. Yes. And now we're starting to see teams' true colors. So that's why we have the same teams in our top 5. All right, so number 6, the Detroit Lions. I know went on that whole rant about are they frauds? They're kind of frauds. They haven't really beaten a good team other than the Chiefs without Mahomes, Kelsey and Chris Jones. But they still have a top 5 roster. Look, they're still really good. When Goff gets protection and he has a good running game, he's really good. And they do have a good running game, and they do have a great offensive line, and their defense is underrated. So they're still a really, really, really good team. They're easily going to win the division. I think they can go head-to-head with Dallas, in my opinion. So I think the Lions are still a really good team. So I have them at number 6.
Yeah, they definitely are. For number 6, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think we've been sleeping on them a little bit. Obviously, they haven't been blowing out teams left and right. They've been losing, but they're getting Zay Jones back. They're still a really good team with a really good roster. I think we've just been sleeping on them because they haven't been blowing out teams, but they still have a lot of talent going around, and they've been having a slow start, similar to the Cincinnati Bengals, but I haven't counted them out yet, so I still have them at my number 6.
Okay, so number 7, I have the Dallas Cowboys. Now, some people might be a little mad that I put the Lions over them, but I think the Lions more consistently. It's a little weird because their rosters are both really good, but I think the Lions, 1, they have a better offensive line. 2, they have a better run game. And 3, they have a better play action because of that run game. And I like their offensive coordinator better. So I like the Lions better than the Cowboys right now. But the Cowboys are still a top 7 team. They played the Eagles really well. They did get blown out by the Niners, but they have annihilated subpar teams. Look, Dallas has a really good team. CeeDee Lamb's finally coming on as maybe a top 5 guy. You know, of course they have Micah Parsons, and that defense is great. But Dak, these last 3 games, Dak has been the best I've ever seen Dak.
Dak's back.
This is the best that I've ever seen from Dak, to be honest with you. These last 3 games, he's been great. So Dallas has a lot to look forward to. They're a legit playoff team. They need to take that next step and get to that NFC Championship game, but they're still a top 7 team. So I have Dallas at 7.
They haven't been there in a while, so, let's see. The next pick I have is the Buffalo Bills, and I think people are counting them out too soon. Obviously, they haven't been that good and haven't been, blowing out teams. They beat the Miami, and that was a big win for them. But they have been obviously losing to bad teams as well. But they still have a lot of talent all around. Their defense is still really good. Obviously, they lost a lot of key pieces on defense. But I think they could still win games. So that's why I got them at my number 7.
Okay, so number 8, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I still think they're a good team, but I haven't been too impressed with them. Like you said, they haven't been convincingly. They blow out the Colts, of course, but they beat the Bills. But it was a sketchy game. They've had some nice wins, but it hasn't always looked great. And the Jaguars, I still think they're a good team. They have a lot of talent on offense. I love their front 7 on defense, but I like Trevor Lawrence. He hasn't played elite, but he's played good. But I think there's that one little tiny spark missing from Jacksonville. I just need to see him consistently play better. They're playing the Niners this week. Maybe if they win that game convincingly, I'll take it more seriously. Yeah. They're still a top 10 team to me. They're still going to win their division. They might even be the 2 or the 1 seed just because how easy their schedule is. But they might be a team that folds in the playoffs, the divisional round. Maybe they win 1 playoff game, but I still need to see more from them. So that's why I have them a little lower than my people think.
They've been a pretty good playoff team,
Well, they have that
coming back against the Chargers.
That was a great comeback, yes, and they played the Chiefs well. But I just need to see a little more from them until I start to take them seriously as a Super Bowl contender.
We really only saw them 1 time in the playoffs.
Exactly,
2 times in the playoffs.
Exactly, and they've kind of been they started out shaky this year. They've been playing a little better, but they don't really dominate. So I kind of want to see that dominating game. I just want to see them convincingly beat the Niners. If I see that, I'll probably put them in my top 5. They might be. So we'll see.
That should be an interesting one. So my number 8 is going to be the Dolphins. Everything's saying, I want to put them higher, but he's going to harp on this a lot. The Dolphins being quote-unquote fraud. I'm not ready to call them fraud. They still have so much talent all around. It's hard to call a team like that fraud. With an amazing run game that you have, with amazing wide receiver core that you have, with a pretty good quarterback that you have, that some games he could look like a top 5 quarterback. And he has looked like a top 5 quarterback. But then again, you haven't seen him play good against good teams. And that's really the point that you want to see your team do. You want to see them play good against good teams, and we just haven't been seeing that with the Dolphins. Obviously, they beat the Chargers, not so much convincingly, but they beat the Chargers, almost basically handed them the game. But again, I haven't seen them play good teams, so we still need to see more from the Dolphins before we put them any higher.
So number 9, the Miami Dolphins. Okay, they are frauds. They are frauds, but they're too talented not to be in the top 10. They have one of the best receivers in the league. future Hall of Famer. One of the best corners in the league, future Hall of Famer. When Achane comes back, he's going to be lighting up a storm. Mostert's still been great this season. Waddle's a great number 2. Tua's a top 10 quarterback right now. They're too talented not to be in my top 10. They have a great, smart offensive head coach. Now, some people might get mad that I put them over Buffalo. Wait, Buffalo beat Miami. Buffalo's got a lot of injuries since then, so it's a little bit of a different story now. Miami's too talented not to be in the top 10. Does that mean they're a Super Bowl team? No. But they're a top 10 team, and I'm not going to deny that. So, number 9, Miami.
Well, interesting. My number 9 is the Dallas Cowboys.
A little low.
It is a little low.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to be very upset with that pick. Listen, I wouldn't say they're. I feel like they're more fraud than Dolphins are in my book.
See, I'm the opposite, but explain.
So, they've had a couple good games, but they just, I don't know. There's just not that wow factor with them. They're pretty good, but I don't know if they face like a really good team.
They got slacked by the Niners, so I'll give you that.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I just haven't seen enough from the Cowboys. Their defense is obviously elite, but just haven't seen. They haven't had that game where they really won me over.
So number 10 was the toughest one for me to pick because there's a lot of different teams you could decide between. Not everyone's going to agree on this one, but I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Wow.
They have an elite defense. They have a top roster. Their quarterback and their offensive coordinator holds them back, but they still find a way to win these games. And they're 5-3, and everything else but their quarterback I love. I love their wide receivers. I love everyone on their defense, their linebackers, D-line. I'd make it Fitzpatrick. They have a great roster. And now both their running backs are coming on. Jalen Warren looks quick and elusive, and Deontay Johnson just came back and he had himself a day. They have a complete roster. They're just a quarterback away. All Kenny Pickett has to do is make the few throws he has to make. George Pickens needs to stop whining, and they'll be okay. The Steelers will probably make the playoffs just from these 5 wins alone. Now all they have to do is tread water and cruise the rest of the season, and they should be okay. So everyone's not going to agree with that because, they just see Kenny Pickett and they think the Steelers are bad. But they have a pretty good team, the Steelers, so they're top 10 for me.
My number 10 is actually very similar to your team. And they're in the same division as well. I'm going with the Browns.
Great defense, very similar.
Very similar team, but I think their defense, they literally have the number 1 defense in the league. Better than the Steelers. It's kind of right there, too. I think, they're all within the top 5.
Yeah.
I think the Browns win that convincingly, though. And they have quite a few pieces on offense as well. We just don't know what's going on with that offense. But
they were a little better, but they were playing the Cardinals. So it's is that really a good?
Better.
They were playing the Cardinals, though.
Deshaun Watson is kind of iffy. We don't know if he's really came
back.
Look,
I'll take him over Kenny Pickett, so to be honest.
Absolutely. And, you got some key weapons over there. You got Amari Cooper that's been looking like a complete stud. He's been going off.
Told you.
Yeah, you did tell me.
Njoku's good. Yeah, they got a lot to like there. It's just, the Steelers. Mike Tomlin's a great head coach, and he finds a way to win these ugly games. So, then, look, those teams are neck and neck, and they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot. So,
yes.
Now, these teams just missed, no specific order. But these are 4 teams that just missed for me. The Bills, the Browns, the Seahawks, the Chargers. I will say the Bills were 11. So the Bills just missed. I think they're just too reliant on Stephon Diggs. What else do they have other than that? They have 2 good tight ends. I get that. But Gabe Davis disappears. Does the disappearing act. Too many injuries on defense. Their O-line's been a little shaky. So that's why they're 11. The Browns, questionable with Deshaun Watson. Don't really trust them in big spots. The Chargers definitely don't trust them in big spots. Their defense gets gashed by everyone not named the Jets. And the Seahawks, Geno is going to hold them back. Yeah. So that's who I have. Do you have anyone that's just missed?
I have just 2 that just missed. And I don't even know why the Chargers are up there. They should
just because of their talent on offense alone.
No.
But
this season they really proved to me that they're not that team. And they're not going to be that team this year. They need to get stuff figured out. Coach-wise. Just coach-wise.
Yeah, I get that. I hear you.
Anyways, the teams that just missed with me are going to be the Lions.
I was shocked about that. Explain that, Dylan, because I feel like I might have convinced you too much that the Lions were frauds and knocked them completely off your top 10. Some people might roast you for this. I'm just going to tell you that
I think I jumped the gun too quickly. They had a good couple weeks. I loved them going into the season, but they're just too young of a team, They are pretty young. They have a lot of young pieces. Yeah, there's nothing much there. They haven't really had that game. That's very convinced.
So
that convinced me a lot.
So let me ask you, what's their ceiling this year? Like, what's the best case scenario for them?
They could win one playoff game, but that's really it. I can't really see them getting to the NFC Championship.
I agree, but I think they're right there, but they're not quite there yet. But they're a step away. Like,
They
I
are
think
a
they're
step
closer
away.
than you think. I think they're closer than you think they are.
Listen, step at a step. They just didn't make it last year. They beat Green Bay, knocking them out. Now they're going to win a playoff game, and maybe the year after that they win.
Good point. It's levels. You got to
NFC.
improve from the season before. So, anyone else you have that just missed?
The other team I have are the Steelers.
They're good.
They're a very good team. Just a very similar situation with the Browns. Their quarterback situation. I don't know.
Don't trust
Can
it.
Kenny Pickett really step up and be the guy? And he hasn't proven it at all yet. So that's why you can't put somebody like that in my top 10.
Okay, so now repeating it. Number 1, I have the Eagles. Number 2, I have the Ravens. Number 3, I have the Chiefs. Number 4, Bengals. 5, Niners. 6, Lions. 7, Cowboys. 8, Jaguars. 9, Dolphins. And 10, Steelers.
So my top 10 is 1 Ravens, 2 Bengals, 3 Eagles, 4 Chiefs, 5 49ers, 6 Jaguars, 7 Bills, 8 Dolphins, 9 Cowboys, and 10 Browns.
Okay, so our Week 10 picks. Second half of the season, Dylan. Let's get it. We're tied, 81-55.
Let's
get it.
go.
First things first, the worst, terrible Thursday night football games. This might be the worst one out of all of them. Somehow, some way, we got the Panthers at the Bears. I gotta go Bears here. Even if Tyson Bagent plays, if Justin Fields comes back, I just think the Bears win this. They're home, it's gonna be. I'm not confident in this at all. But the Panthers are just such a bad team. Like, their offensive line's terrible. They don't have weapons. So I got Bears.
Going the same way with you. I'm going Bears as well. The Panthers just looked pathetic last year.
Yeah.
Panthers looking pathetic.
Even when they beat the Texans, it was kind of pathetic.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
absolutely. And the Bears had a good week as well.
Yes. Even though they lost,
yes.
they had a good week.
Cole Kmet went off. He had
that touchdown catch was beautiful.
Absolutely,
yeah. That
man.
throw was good. Oh my God, Tyson
that
Bagent.
throw was good, but you were saying it was a better catch.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
It was a nice throw though. Okay, so Colts at Patriots. I'm gonna go Colts here. Even though the Patriots are home, I don't trust them. I think the Colts have played very well this year. Gardner Minshew's been a nice fill-in for Richardson this season, and Jonathan Taylor's been coming on. Same with Zach Moss. Their defense is pretty decent. I got the Colts.
They're still sharing the workload, which is surprising.
They got two good backs. Share it.
They do.
Yeah.
I guess. I got Jonathan Taylor, so let's get him moving.
Let's get him some carries. So, who you got?
This is another game. What do you really expect out of this game? I think the Colts are going to win this. I don't know if it's going to convince him. It's going to be a convincing win. I think it's going to go back and forth. Patriots have a good defense, and I don't know. Mac Jones is like on a roller coaster.
It's like to stay for the ride.
Insanely bad, insanely good, insanely bad.
And I am not.
Weird.
Yeah, I do not want to stay on for that ride anymore. So I got the Colts.
I don't either. Yeah, Colts.
Okay.
Colts all the way.
Okay. An AFC North showdown. Browns at Ravens.
Interesting game.
It is interesting, and everything's screaming at me to take the Browns here in a spot like this.
I
the defense,
wanted to,
but you gotta go Baltimore. They're too good right now. They're on a roll.
They are on a roll. The same thing with Cincinnati. They're just once they got it going, they're getting it going.
They're really getting it going.
And,
Lamar's playing his best football right now. So
but I don't know. The Browns seem to come in and say, "Hey, you're not that good."
The Browns seems to play well.
49ers.
The Browns seem to play well against good teams. They do seem to do that. But the Ravens got a good defense too. So I think the Ravens outmatched them here. Plus the Ravens are home. So we both got Ravens.
Definitely watching this one.
Yes, for sure. Packers at Steelers, and I just think the Packers are so inept. The Steelers' offense is inept, but the Packers' offense is even more inept. And the Steelers are home, and that's a good home field advantage. So give me the Steelers.
I'm taking the Steelers too.
Okay, so Niners at Jaguars. This is tough. I want to take the Jaguars here, but I can't see the Niners losing 4 straight. I think they had a bye week, so I think they get right. Give me Niners.
Yeah, give me Niners as well. I think Brock Purdy, he's gonna have some time to rest, think about it, get back down to earth.
I think he bounces back.
Listen, there was a lot of stuff going on with Brock Purdy, MVP candidate. There's a lot.
Hopefully this brought him back down to earth. And the Jaguars secondary kind of struggles. I think Purdy bounces back
Christian
nicely.
McCaffrey,
he's gonna have a big game.
You can't stop him. He's gonna
have a big game.
Yes.
Okay, so Saints at Vikings. This is interesting. Josh Dobbs. I think I still think even though he won last week in thrilling fashion, I still think he's gotten there a little too soon. I think he's not going to be as prepared as he needs to be for this game. I think the Saints are just going to win this. They have a good defense. Derek Carr is starting to get rolling. Give me the Saints in this one.
This one's a hard one for me. I want to go Saints, but that win was so convincing. It really showed me what the Vikings were. I don't know if that's just, Kirk, just not. Because, I don't know, Vikings didn't really have a game where they were just phenomenal with Kirk. But when I saw Dobbs with this offense, it showed me a lot.
In 3 quarters, yeah, he just moved the ball. That second half alone, they were just moving up and down the field. It was
exactly.
great. Yeah. And he could run. Kirk can't run. That's another element that he didn't have before.
Exactly. And just putting that piece in, it showed a lot. And it just... I wonder, what are they going to be with Justin Jefferson back? And when they're at high strength, I think they're going to be a good team. If they can keep this momentum going, I think they're going to be talented.
So you get Vikings?
I'm getting Vikings with this one.
Okay. Texans at Bengals. The Texans have played well, but I got to go Bengals here. They're on the roll. Joe Burrow's playing some of his best football right now. This defense is fired up. Give me Bengals. They're home.
You're right. Texans have been playing a good game. I'm really interested to see how CJ Stroud matches up against a really, really good team. If he goes toe to toe with this team, if they win this team, what do you even call them? Like, do you think they're going to be making runs to the playoffs at that point?
No, but I think they'd be fighting to the end for a playoff spot. There's just too many good teams in the AFC, but they'll be right there.
Yeah, I'm getting Bengals with this.
Is there a chance they can fight for the division with the Jaguars, who are 6-2? They're 4-4. They're only 2 games back. Jaguars lose to the Niners this week. Texans win. Texans already beat the Jaguars this season? Is there a they have the tiebreaker right now? They play one more time. Yeah. Is there a possibility the Texans could fight for this division?
Yes, absolutely.
Which is crazy to be saying.
It is. Going into the season, I would have
never expected
I thought the Jaguars were going to win this convincingly, but not anymore.
Right now, it's still a little convincing, but the Texans are right on their heels.
It's not convincing. It's not convincing to me.
So
yeah, I'm getting Bengals for that one.
Bengals too. Titans at Bucks. Instinct here. I'm going to go Titans. Mike Vrabel. Will Levis has looked good. They had a tough loss to the Steelers. I think they bounced back here. The Bucks seem like they're faltering right now, even though they're home. I like Will Levis a lot. I think they're going to make some explosive plays in this game. I'll take the Titans in this one.
Listen, they went neck to neck with the Texans, the Bucks, and like you were saying before, Baker looked good. I mean, there wasn't a part. They scored 30 points. They were in that game the whole time. They were kind of controlling it. So, the Texans kind of had to come back with that one. So I don't know. I just like the Bucks more. Titans are okay, but this is Levis's 3rd start.
Yes.
So he's still very fresh. I don't know. I like the Bucks more on this.
That's a go either way game. I just think the Titans have kind of they've been a little up and down. Like they win games they shouldn't and lose. It seems like a spot where they come out to play on the road with Vrabel. I'll take the Titans here. You got the Bucks. Lions at Chargers. This is a very hard one to pick. Honestly, not really. Even though the Chargers are home, but is that really home field advantage? Like they have no fans, and the Lions have been playing. The Lions are a good team. Like I said, they have a great roster. So I'll take the Lions in this one.
I mean, I'm taking the Lions with this one as well. Chargers just have not been. Yeah, they beat the Jets, but they barely beat the Jets.
I know.
And like I was saying before,
was not impressed by that.
They just always are handing the game over. They're always leaving.
Here you go. Yeah, take the game, please.
And the Lions, they're just a better team. The rosters are very similar. They both have talent on their side, but They just have a better coaching staff, and they're way more capable of winning this game than the Chargers are.
Yeah, I think the Lions are more of they're more of a winning franchise now, even though they haven't really necessarily had success. They know how to win.
To be the opposite.
Exactly. They find ways to win. I think Week 1 against the Chiefs showed that they win tight games. I'm still a believer in the Lions. I think they're a good team. So Lions for both of us. Falcons at Cardinals. I want to see the Falcons, but the Falcons, I just don't trust them. Every time I pick them to win, they lose. Every time I pick them to lose, they win. I'm going to say this, and this is going to be my bold pick for the week. If Kyler Murray plays, give me the Cardinals and Kyler Murray, baby. Kyler's back. Give me the Cardinals.
But if he's not, you're not.
I'll go Falcons if he's not. That backup's just too bad.
No, he's terrible.
Yeah. So that's my pick. That's how I'll go with it.
That's your pick. Well, I'm going Falcons all the way.
Look, I'm not. Look, I get it. I'm not. Kyler's just coming back. He doesn't have that much talent around him, and they've lost a lot of games. I get it. I just don't trust the Falcons, and I love me some Kyler Murray. So let's go, Kyler. Go back out there and show why you were an MVP candidate.
Taylor Heineke against Kyler Murray. I would absolutely go Kyler Murray all the way. But it's his first game back.
Yeah, there's a lot of different circumstances here. It's not that simple.
Taylor Heineke looked somewhat capable last game, so...
Yeah, the last 2 games he's been decent.
Yes, they have key pieces on Bijan Robinson. He's kind of been,
He's been a little shaky the last couple of weeks.
A little shaky, but yeah. I feel like that's more so coaching staff, them not using him correctly.
Yeah,
he's more of like a receiving back, a gadget guy.
They use him weird sometimes.
They do.
For sure.
I'm getting Falcons here, but... I don't know. They just need to do a little more,
I hear you. So Falcons, you, Cardinals, me. Now moving on. Your Giants against the Cowboys. Now, every time we say, let's just pick the Cowboys and move on. Like every time we do that, the other team ends up upsetting them. But I think in this scenario, we can just pick the Cowboys and move on. It's like I don't see a scenario where the Giants win this game.
Yeah,
the Giants.
Unfortunately, I have nothing to say against
the Cowboys had the better O-line, the better quarterback.
Game, but I don't think that matters at all.
Look, the Cowboys have the better O-line, the better quarterback, the better receivers, the better defense. I mean, it's just not,
Yeah.
The only thing the Giants have better is the run.
Let's go, bro. Take it away. Take it away. Let's get it.
Caleb Williams time for the New York Giants. Baby. Commanders at Seahawks. And I know the Seahawks struggled last week and they got embarrassed by the Ravens, but I think they bounced back here. The Commanders are very average, and they're weak in the secondary, so Lockett and Metcalf are probably going to have themselves a day. The running backs, hopefully they can get going again. They just traded away Chase Young. And Montez Sweat they got rid of, so their D-line's probably lacking now. I think the Seahawks get right this game.
Oh, yeah, this is a get-right game all the way.
And they're home.
Yeah, absolutely. But the Commanders seem to stick in these games that they're not supposed to. 2 weeks ago, they kept it within a 7-point game against the Eagles. So, I don't know. I'm getting Seahawks here, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lost either.
I wouldn't either because, like I said, Geno's kind of up and down, and Sam Howell can have himself a big game. Like it seems like at any moment Sam Howell can go off. So
that's a good point.
And the Seahawks defense isn't great. They've been better the last couple of weeks other than the Baltimore game, but I got Seahawks here and so do you. Sunday Night Football, Jets at Raiders in Vegas. I'm going to go Jets here, and this is why. I'm not confident about this pick. I know the Raiders scored like 30 points against the Giants, but I'll tell you right now, our defense is going to they're going to completely shut down that Raider offense.
The question is, what do you think Max Crosby is going to do against?
The question is going to be, can the Jets score points against the Raiders? And I think it's going to be a field goal game. So I think the Jets are probably going to win like 13-9 on field goals or 12-9. It's going to be an ugly game. But
I'm smashing the under on this one.
Me too. So who do you got?
I'm going Jets.
Okay.
You guys.
I'm not confident.
It's a must-win for you guys.
I'm not even thinking of it like that. I think they're done already.
Last week was a must-win for you guys. So now what is this week?
Yeah. So they're still mathematically, obviously, right in the thick of things, but I think they're done. But I think this defense is too great.
Yeah, what are you guys going to do in the playoffs?
We're not going to get there. I'm going to end up having PTSD about Monday night. So, but yeah, I got the Jets in this one. I think their defense is too good. I think Aiden O'Connell's going to struggle in this game. He's a rookie, and the Jets have a good pass rush. And usually, rookie quarterbacks facing good pass rushes struggle. So, give me the Jets. Give you the Jets. We got the Jets.
Let's go Jets. Jets.
Jets. Suck. Monday Night Football. Broncos at Bills. I know that the Broncos beat the Chiefs and all that, but I think the Bills get right this game. Josh Allen's just too good of a quarterback to be losing all these games. So the Bills got to show why they're still a playoff team, and I think they will in this game. So give me the Bills.
I completely agree with you all the way. All the way. Broncos did. Yeah, you're right. They beat the Chiefs, and I think 2 weeks ago we were like, Chiefs win that game easily. Let's not even talk about it. There was a lot to talk about.
yeah, and we missed it all.
we missed it all. We didn't get into it.
Yeah. I got
Broncos are very weird. The Broncos are very weird.
They've been playing better. They've been running the ball better. Their defense has been playing a lot better.
But are they a playoff team?
No, and the Bills might be. So I think the Bills the Bills still have, like, the Broncos might have a similar roster to the Bills, but the Bills have better high-end players. Like, Diggs is a high-end player.
Sutton's a high-end player.
Yeah, well, Sutton's a good player.
Javon Williams is a high-end player.
Javonte Williams is a very good player, but I wouldn't say high-end. Pat Surtain's a high-end player. He's their only higher-end player. I'm talking about the highest of the highs.
Everyone else is kind of like...
It's good, but Jerry Jeudy's good. You know, Javonte Williams, he's good. Cortland Sutton's a solid receiver. I would have him in my team any day. The Jets could use a number 2, but
at that point they should have thought about trading for him.
They were the Jets. Well, he was on the market, so
that's what I'm saying.
Well, apparently he wasn't, but I feel like he was.
I mean, they were throwing up pieces for the defense.
Yeah, so they were giving away linemen. So you're right, but yeah, we got Bills in this one. Not to get too sidetracked.
Yeah.
So those are our Week 10 picks. Now back to our very famous Thursday Night Football parlay.
Yeah, we missed last week. You
won. I won.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. So we both won one. So we got the Carolina Panthers at the Chicago Bears. A very ugly game to bet. And, you know, we filmed this on Tuesday. The game's on Thursday, so not a lot of props out. But here's what we got. For my parlay, I have Adam Thielen, 70-plus receiving yards. He's been on a tear this season. The Chicago Bears don't have a great secondary. I can see the Panthers falling down and having the pass. So Thielen, 70-plus receiving yards is realistic to me.
Yeah, that's been his go-to all season.
It's been his number one.
Only one.
Yeah, exactly. Under 41.5 total points. I just think both these offenses are very lackluster, even though Chicago's defense isn't that great. The Panthers' defense is, it's okay. I just think these offenses are very lackluster. I don't see either of these teams getting to 20 points. So under 41.5.
You guys know what that means. Whenever he does the under or over, you do the opposite.
Besides the last time I won. I actually did a point, yes, and I got it. I think it was the over. Well, actually, no, I think I did the under. Usually when I get the under, I'm unsuccessful. But this week, I won. 2 weeks ago, I was successful.
We'll see.
Chicago Bears minus 1.5. I see Chicago winning this game, whether Tyson Bagent or Justin Fields plays. And Bryce Young, 225.5 passing yards. Like I said, I think Carolina's going to fall down this game, and they're going to have to be throwing the ball at the end. So I think he easily gets the 225 plus. So that's what I have. What do you got?
Not bad.
What do you got?
So I got Cole Kmet, 40-plus receiving yards, and he's been going off. He's been one of the better tight ends.
He is. He's a very underrated tight end.
He is, absolutely. He had 2 touchdowns last game. I think they're going to keep it going. I thought even with either Justin Fields in or his backup, I think they're gonna get the memo. He's somebody that will get open, and he should be one of your key targets. The ball. Yes. The next one I'm doing is Chuba Hubbard, 40-plus rushing yards, and this is his first week back. But before that, he was looking good.
He's a consistent back.
Yes, he is. I think they can get 40 rushing yards. Next one is Adam Thielen, anytime touchdown. Adam Thielen's just been that go-to guy. He's been getting a few touchdowns. I think he has like 4 or 5 in the season.
Pretty good. He's been finding ways to get open.
Exactly. The next one I'm doing is Bears money line. Now I'm just playing it safe. I know you did minus 1.5. Playing it safe. I think Bears will definitely win this convincingly. Panthers just haven't been that team at all.
You're not taking that point?
No, I'm not taking that point.
Not taking any chances.
I won't do it.
Okay, so recapping, I have Adam Thielen, 70-plus receiving yards, under 41.5 total points, Bears minus 1.5, and Bryce Young, 225-plus passing yards.
And I have Cole Kmet, 40-plus receiving yards, Chuba Hubbard, 40-plus rushing yards, Adam Thielen, anytime touchdown, and Bears money line.
And that's our Thursday Night Football parlay. Now,
let's go.
Dylan, halfway through the season, it's been great, man. We've had some great progress in here, and it's been tough for us. It's a lot of work.
It's rough, man.
But we're almost there, man. And we're getting to the crunchy, juicy part of playoff spots, division spots being fought for, and we're really going to see teams battling towards the end. So thanks, Dylan.
Yes.
See you guys next week.